I welcome you all to another episode of Thoughts on Education. On this very special day, I feel honored to introduce Professor Dr. Satyanarayana, the Vice Chancellor of C.V. Raman Global University. He holds a PhD in electrical engineering from Cambridge University. He is a very passionate, fast learner and an inspirational leader and a communicator with his multidisciplinary skills and experience in enabling cross-cultural teams in industry, research and development, academics, and government organizations and policy planning. With a holistic system and design thinking approach, he has been the CEO, Vice Chancellor, CTO, COO, and he has an experience of 34 years working in India, UK, Japan, with international partners in US, Europe, UK, Germany, Russia, Singapore, and South Korea, and also with many NGOs. So, Peak College Dunia are feeling very honored to welcome you, sir.
Thank you very much for having me here. It's my pleasure to be part of this program too. Yeah.
Okay, so without any further delay, let's get into the interview questions. So, sir, you have held a key position at the education institutes throughout your professional career. So, what are the key factors that keeps you connected with education sector?
I think if one were to say, in nearly whole of the last 50 to 60 years, we are maybe in the most exciting time that one can ever be in education system, because we are in the middle of the knowledge economy era. Our knowledge life cycles have reduced so fast that product life cycles have reduced. Whole of the life world is changing in various aspects, and especially post-COVID, the change has become even more rapid. And therefore, I think the very excitement that you could do so many things. For example, even a simple, microscope or advanced measurement equipment earlier would have been difficult. Today, the computation technology has made sure that very huge equipments are reduced to being literally handheld. So, whether it's for research, whether it's for analysis, whether it's for measurement, whether it's actually to design and make things happen, this is one of the most exciting time ever. And plus, being in academics, one gets an opportunity to work in multiple areas of passion, which will not be there in any other domain, because I'll be constrained to the requirement of a factory or constrained to the requirement of an office. And we will not have too much of a provision to expand our horizon of learning, and therefore I think I'm excited to be in the education space for the sheer fact that you get unlimited opportunity to learn, and even more important is you can actually practice it. And above all, if possible, if we could influence somebody and create a change in someone's life or enable somebody even in a small way, I think it's a very satisfying experience. And therefore I think I'm very happy to have had the opportunity to be in the education space, and especially at this point of time. Yeah.
Yes, sir, that's great. So, being the Vice Chairman of C.V. Raman Global University, what is your philosophy on leadership, and how would you describe your leadership style?
I think in this age of changing times, especially when, as I said in the very beginning, knowledge life cycles have reduced, product life cycles are becoming shorter, and the millennials are in no position to listen, and they have so much of means of information where they can get information if they want to, because earlier education was limited to know, just to give information and then reproduce it in an exam to pass an exam. Whereas today, education process, we are all in a way facilitators, and leadership. And again, we have to, with all the changes, as I mentioned, leadership cannot be one shoe fit all. First of all, you have to be flexible. Above all, you have to be a great learner and a listener, both, because only the listening brings in the learning. And then for implementing anything, we have to do by example, because so many changes are happening. No other domain is seeing the type of changes that education is seeing. And therefore, as a leader in education, we will have to literally do and by example motivate and inspire others to be part of the change, and then become the evangelists who could then spread this process of change into the whole education system. So therefore, it is a participative leadership, and above all, a leadership which is completely hands-on, and actually to be the first to engage in anything and everything that we want others to do, and then show by example how things can happen. And above all, dignity. I mean, because now if somebody has to accept your point of view, there has to be a respect, a healthy respect. And the healthy respect cannot be simply coming from the position of power, but from the sheer knowledge that here is a facilitator whom I can believe in, and also his knowledge and information is worthwhile for me. And that belief has to come. And therefore, we'll have to demonstrate every day, every time, every minute. But that's also, as I said, is an excitement of being in the education space, that it's a process of continuous learning. And that's what even education 4.0 is in the 21st century, a process of, learning, unlearning, and relearning. And therefore, it's a very exciting space. And it has, as I said in the very beginning, a participative leadership with, showing by example and respecting all and working as a collaborative team and with a flat structure. And that is the only way I think we can make things happen, and especially at the pace at which we want to. And I'm happy to say that in the last, say, 7 to 8 years, have had the opportunity to actually transform different institutions. Like earlier, when I was in RV College of Engineering, it was a 45-year-old institution where I got a chance to, reconfigure it from a teaching institution into a full-fledged academic institution where teaching, learning, research, industry engagement, innovation, entrepreneurship, all of them along with holistic. Equally, for example, even in sports, we were number one in the state of Karnataka among 200 institutions under VTU. So that was one entirely different type of experience, working with about 8,000 students and 500 faculty. And whereas when I went to BML Munjal University, it was setting up a new university. So it had its own charm, and so more provision to create something. And now at C.V. Raman Global University, especially in line with the new national education policy and the science and technology innovation policy, or even the changed paradigm of COVID, I think it's a great platform here that offers us to create some of these new processes ahead of the curve than anybody else and that's a unique opportunity that I look forward to, being here in C.V. Raman Global University.
Yes, sir. So the education system in India and other foreign countries is structured very differently. So in your experience, what can an inbound student gain from studying in your institute, sir?
I think first and foremost, India offers the type of diversity, for which all the other parts of the world are striving to create. Inherently, we bring in diversity. And diversity is the platform which leads to, from the time of understanding, it leads to more questioning. Education is always about questioning. Our older education system, therefore, it was always called as based on questioning or discussion. That's why it was, tarka, based on discussion, and prashna. So therefore, Indian's education system offers this unique provision to truly question anything and truly, discuss about anything. And that is how, we had some of the oldest universities in the world. And even, the Bologna Agreement, which led to all of the new university type of systems, starting from Europe, Cambridge, and other than going across to the US, they all actually follow our old Gurukula system in a way of mentoring. But then somewhere along the way, we lost it. But then now I think we are in a unique time frame where all of this is once again being revived, and the national education policy expects this. So an inbound student can truly expect, and if he is willing to experiment and leverage, get a whole global experience studying in India, studying in, say, C.V. Raman College, because you have all types of people, all types of geographical condition, all types of food products, a high-end product as it is to a most affordable cutting-edge product, process, and solution, leveraging cutting-edge technology. And so any solution that can be found in India, in principle, for any section of the society globally, can be practiced, implemented, tested at the most affordable cost, and with the best of, all compliance requirements, and then taken over to any part of the world. So I think India offers a unique platform for an inbound student, whether he's an Indian student or an international student who is truly willing to learn. No other country can offer this level of opportunity across the spectrum in every domain. Social, psychological, engineering, medical, pharma, agriculture, you name it. I think you have provision to innovate, invent, discover, develop, or understand for the era of, say, a circular, sustainable economy or sustainable development of the world that can happen in India. And so it's a unique time frame. And I would seriously think any student who wants to be prepared for the future, 21st and 22nd century, should learn in India. And that's the only way they can truly create or enable or live, in a great way in the next future.
Yes, sir. So, sir, when you became the part of CV Raman Global University for the first time, what was your vision and how has it evolved over a time? And how far along in the implementing that vision are you in?
Well, I think I am not too far into the process. But as I said, my excitement of coming here was that, see, this is just a 10-month-old university, or nearly say 1-year-old university. But then it's also a 20 plus years old engineering institution, which has also been involved in delivering programs in food technology to management and marine engineering. So what was interesting to me when I came on board to CV Raman Global University was that here was a university which was set up by a founder who started off with an ITI and a diploma institute. So they had a clear thought that to transform people, skilling and vocational education, education that enables a job, because that is what is the key requirement today for most Indian student. 300 odd million children, whether they are in school or university. In university we have about 38 million, and soon there's going to be 600 million children in schools and colleges, plus the older people who will have to reskill for the age of automation and education 4.0 and industry 4.0. That means we are looking at somewhere 700 to 800 million people need to be educated, and the education has to be for life, for living in the society, for earning. And therefore, this university founders had a clear thought that we need to enable people first and foremost to live. And that is where they started off with ITI and diploma and started putting emphasis on skills, and even created about 25 centers with a provision for future skills with about 50 crores of investment. But somewhere, they had a problem. They were a good engineering college, doing management, doing, food technology, investment done, but the people couldn't understand the unique opportunity this offers for the sustainable development goals of the world, and definitely for India, because if India has to transform and become a developed nation, we need to transform every man, every woman. And therefore, the sustainable development goals are nothing but roti, kapda, makan, urja, swachhata, swasthata, parivahan, udyog. So these are all the things that are what is, the sustainable development goals. So you don't need to have somebody tell from across the globe that you should do sustainable development goal. And the best infrastructure to make it happen for the next generation in the name of skilling was already created. So my vision was, how do we now bring in a seamless link between skills and vocational training and studies at any point in education, saying, education is for life in the new 21st century. And again, as recently said, the Koreans, for example, in their 2017 education policy clearly said, employment first, education next, because they knew that the technologies were changing so fast. Just any degree by itself would become obsolete overnight. Industries are moving towards skill and competence for their immediate requirement. They are not interested whether I have a PhD or a MTech or a BTech or whatever, or MSc, BSc, BCom, BBA, BCom. They want to know whether I have the skill and the competence to make something happen for them. So in this context, therefore, we need to make vocational education, skill-linked education along with knowledge to be seamlessly linked, and also make it as aspirational as just knowledge-based degrees. And then the seamless linking of the two should lead to understanding, inquiry, and the inquiry should lead to ideation, innovation, and all of that, I think, should lead to more product and process development. And therefore, it was indeed very exciting for me to say that here was an institution which had created huge infrastructure, and we're having some trouble linking all of them. And now the new education policy, the national innovation, all of them are sort of looking to make how the seamless link between knowledge and skill from school level, and then so that at every stage I am competent of leading my life with that skill and knowledge and experiential learning, and whenever I want I can translate it or take it further with more knowledge, more skills as per my competence, as per my affordability, as per my needs. So now creating the seamless link between school, college, university, and also vocational education or skill and knowledge to leading to innovation and make in India are some of my thoughts or aspiration. How can we make this seamlessly so that every assignment, every project, every, say case study or a social environmental visit should lead to new ideas and also understanding fundamentals. And then if they do work practically something, experiential learning, that should lead to innovation and entrepreneurship. And so with this thought, we have come here, and the management also has given a free hand. And happy to say that already now we have created an educational structure which we think could be a template for many others in the country to follow as to how could we actually implement NEP. Because many people when they look at NEP say, maybe it's a wonderful set of recipes. But then to implement or make that recipe happen, I need to have, first of all, proper ingredients. And above all, it's a menu list. But to make the menu happen, I need a recipe for cooking and the ingredients to make it happen. And so here we are already creating the recipes and also saying how all the existing ingredients by itself can be leveraged. So I think now we have created some great framework for it, which is very exciting in just a very short time. And we are already the current students will start working on skills from the first semester, will start working on system and design thinking from day one, irrespective of whether he's doing agriculture, engineering, medical, pharma, physiotherapy, nursing. And also see how, say an agricultural student starts off with as much a computer science program as programming as he does agricultural courses, whereas earlier it may not have been there. And the projects and assignments could be again linking engineering, agricultural, nursing, medical, management together in an integrated way. So we have created this unique framework and structure now to do this multidisciplinary experiential learning, where every assignment, every project, every learning process is enriching and could actually lead to product, process, services, and solution. So I think the creating of this platform in a short time is a very exciting outcome of whatever we were thinking can we do. And again, so many of the faculty and deans coming together and believing in it and making it happen. As at least the first framework is very interesting, and we hope soon we'll have case studies and examples to showcase that actually, research can happen from classroom teaching, and that could be cutting edge research, where so that a university can truly be involved in knowledge creation, comprehension, and dissemination, and not just rote learning.
Yes, sir. So what are some of the biggest challenges you see both for higher education in general as well as for C.V. Raman Global University specifically?
I think the biggest challenge is the mindset, and the biggest challenge is the status quo behavior, and especially I think orientation of the faculty. The faculty have been trained from best of Indian institutions, which are wonderful. They're great institutions. And some of the other institutions have no clue as to what exactly even research means and what exactly is teaching. We have been, as I said in the very beginning, doing education process which was set up for clerks in the 18th century. That is, just to know was the only requirement of the education, and the assessment was to see if I knew something. But today, when knowledge is available at the flip of a switch or a touch of a screen, I think knowing information is an irrelevant issue, because I can just even talk to my phone and it will give me the information. So in this context now, we have to do, and not just do, but the doing should lead to skill and competence to again be in a position to analyze, to critically think, to even say creatively innovate and find solutions, problem solving. So therefore, reorienting the faculty to this fact, and that it cannot be business as usual, is I think a challenge of whole of the country and also C.V. Raman. Because they would all come from say an IIT, IISc, IIM, the best of IISers, and they think, okay, I mean, there a professor created a fiefdom and was doing free of cost education process outsourcing for the developed world, because these people ended up working as postdocs, research scholars, or the professor would go and do his intellectual curiosity satisfaction in an international university. So we were freely servicing international companies and international universities from Government of Indian grants from best of Indian institutions. Other institutes anyway had no grants, no research. Most state universities, and even less said the better as far as private, because we had created a sort of a feeling that say private institutions are completely irrelevant, inferior, they cannot do research. So in this mindset, everybody said blindly, I have to publish a paper and go abroad and serve some international master after having served our colonial masters here. That was the sort of education mindset. So everybody was after paper setting, and even developing any product, process, system was thought to be irrelevant. I mean, it's a very trivial aspect. We cannot even do a pin today literally from Indian technology. But then if Atmanirbharta has to happen, people have to get jobs. Only when universities and industries work together and create products, and that scaled up for production, can we truly have huge jobs for all, growth for all, and the whole ecosystem growing. But if it is one multinational company putting a production, it will all, if there are 5 companies doing it, the new technology will reduce it to one company doing it in an integrated way. So there will be less jobs, less opportunity, and even less understanding of what is going into it, because everything will be a black box. And all of this has to stem from education in the knowledge economy, as it happens not just in developed world, but in Ireland, in Taiwan, in Singapore, in Israel. See, you have small MSMEs and universities work and develop, create innovation from simple fundamentals with a multidisciplinary approach. So, and all this has to start with the faculty having this mindset to do. So I think changing the mindset of the, otherwise, even without a syllabus, a one-line syllabus is good enough if the faculty has a bright, wide vision and also a broad-minded outlook to make things happen. Otherwise, even whatever you prescribe, even 100 pages of specific prescriptions will lead to nothing. And therefore, again, I emphasize the biggest challenge is orienting the faculty and changing their mindset for the country and also for C.V. Raman. And this can only happen when the leaders are willing to do and not simply expect to say something and say, oh, so they will do it. Because see, unfortunately, they have not seen it, they have not done it. They need hand-holding. They're very, very competent people. Even an inferior student from India goes abroad, he becomes a celebrity overnight. He becomes a world leader. Whereas if the best gold medalist after a few years in India become irrelevant. So therefore, I think leaders have to mingle with their faculty, give them the confidence, do the hand-holding and transform the mindset, and also showcase to faculty that cutting-edge knowledge creation, product and process creation can happen here. Again, in this, I have to quote Einstein. He said, the most complex of things, if you cannot explain it in the simplest of way, you don't understand what you're doing. And he also said, if you want to create a change, you cannot be in the same frame in which it was first, there was a problem. You need to create a new paradigm. So we need to create this environment and change the faculty's mindset. Then I think the world is India's oyster.
Yes, sir. So finally, any suggestions for you to give to the current students and aspiring youth, sir?
I think if the student is truly willing to learn, India is the best place to learn. India is the best place to experiment. So please work with your passion. Don't go with the herd mentality that say everybody is going into computer science, I need to do computers. Everybody is going into management, I need to do management. Any domain, learn the fundamentals, the school fundamentals and the fundamentals that you learn in say something like a +2 or a first year of your degree program are very critical, and understand how to use them cumulatively. I mean, from capability to writing, to reading, to, communicating it, and more importantly, using quantitative ability. These are all the skills that are expected. So practice them, start using them, and then you will see that you can apply this knowledge in any domain and go with your passion. Don't be stuck with everybody's thought that only this is good or that everything, there is every domain today, there is an opportunity. The whole world is changing, and especially as we move towards circular and sustainable economy, I think in every domain there is a lot of relearning to be done and reinvention to be done. And as we said, even the workers on every day literally have to skill, reskill and unskill all that. That is like the education of 21st century, which is said ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. Therefore, I tell the students, please, first and foremost, whatever you do it with passion. Make sure you learn your fundamentals very well and know how to make use of them. And if you know these two things, you can adapt to any changing domain. And the whole world is looking at Indian youth, because we have the largest number of youth, and they will be in the working age for next 30 to 40 plus years. And it's a huge opportunity to become leaders both in India. Leverage your network. Use, a mobile phone, use the internet. So many people are giving you those information and understanding, and start getting excited. And once you do that, nobody can stop you. And please leverage education. From time immemorial, our education and knowledge, even say Prajnanam Brahma is one of the 4 Mahavakyas of our Vedas. That is, knowledge is ultimate. So that is what is the key today in the age of knowledge economy. And therefore, please do not be callous when you are studying. Study everything with understanding and understand how to make use of them. And no one can stop you. You can be a leader in every area of one's passion.
Thank you so much, sir. That was truly an informative message. And I'm really sure that our audience and students will get benefited from your thoughts. And I once again thank you for sharing your valuable time with us, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Arshita. Thank you for having me. And thanks, College Dunia, for thinking it is worthwhile to have our views. But I can just definitely tell you that at C.V. Raman Global University, we are creating unlimited platform for every domain. Because as we said, as of now, though we only do agriculture, engineering, management, food, but we have already created infrastructure for every one of the domain, from medical to nursing. We'll soon be able to do product, process, system, services in a multidisciplinary way. All are welcome to work with us, and we'll be happy to partner with any institution, work with any student or any company. And thanks once again, College Dunia, for giving me an opportunity to share some of my thoughts.